What's going on, Chris? How are you?
Man, just got back from Arizona. So brother was winning an award there, flew out there. I get like this 24-hour permission slip because I got 4 kids now. So flew in, got there at about 8 p.m. and had to leave the next day at about 4. So just made it back and catch up on everything.
So, Chris, you're one of 5 brothers, I think?
Yeah, the middle of 5.
Middle of 5. Which one of your brothers was getting an award? Bruce, we're gonna have some fun here.
Oh, so my younger brother, Rob.
Bruce, do you know who that is?
Chris, I had to do some research because I'm deep in this like software business world, not as much as heavy in the sports world. And Mr. Chris Gronkowski, aka Rob, the Gronk's brother.
Jerseys, man. No.
Dude, I did a lot of like video watching for this. So I went through YouTube. I was watching the demo videos, Iceshaker, obviously the Shark Tank episode, which I commend you for making the Sharks play Flip Cup. Seeing what's her name? Like pour half the water out, it looked like, on the table, and just like figure out how to turn it upside down and everything. It was entertaining.
Barbara, yeah, she definitely cheated. But it was all good.
So, Chris, we're super excited to have you on. A little backstory for everyone. So, Chris Gronkowski, Rob Gronkowski's older brother, right?
Yeah.
Do you always just go by Gronk's brother? Is that like a thing?
I was just about to say, like, what about Chris? Chris, you played in the NFL. You played. You've got, this is your business.
I got to hang my jerseys up behind me just to let people know I even played, because your brother's the best to ever do it. People kind of forget that you also played 4 years yourself. So now it's all good, man. It's he's definitely made a name for himself and also for our family, and it's an honor to play with him in college. Play against him in the NFL, and we're such a tight knit family. So either way, man, I'm cool with it. I'm proud of everything he's done, and we have a lot of respect for each other.
That's awesome. So a little bit of backstory. So you guys obviously got your investment from Mark Cuban and A-Rod. When I was going through due diligence with Mark's company, they had me talk to Chris, just like we started talking. And Chris runs Iceshakers, which you guys do a significant amount of laser engraving, which kind of got us talking about decoration, because we're in the printing business, and lasers, screen printers, we're all decorating and shipping the wrong stuff out right stuff out every day. And so we actually just put it in an order. We got our Campus Ink Iceshaker right here. There you go.
Hey.
And the experience was insane. Like, it was super fast. And so amongst all your other accolades, I thought it would be really cool to bring you on to talk business, decoration, laser engraving, and all the other cool shit you've done, obviously. So welcome. And we can give Bruce some shit. Bruce, what team does Tom Brady play for now?
It's the Buccaneers, right?
There you go. We're 1 for 1.
There you go. There
you go, man.
Yeah, I think that's only because of personal life stuff is like way more in the news than sports. But
should we ask another one, Bruce? Who did?
Oh boy,
where did Rob retire from?
That's a good question.
I was telling you, Chris.
Diligence, man. He was doing the research. Actually, when you said that, I wanted to ask, what was the first video that popped up on YouTube? Because I've heard some hilarious stories when people go and start doing some research on us.
Hold on one sec. We've got 4 amazing sponsors that help put the show on every single week. So if you're looking for a vendor to be able to help with this, give them a shout, give them a go. It's really awesome that they can be able to help us put this on. All right, first up, 701-842. What are these? These are Stephen Farag's favorite chemicals from EasyWay. EasyWay has environmentally friendly chemicals to help with the reclaim process and making sure that it runs efficiently. So if you value a company and really need a partner, though, to be able to help with best practices, how-tos, and questions, EasyWay is there. Go to easyway.com, check them out. They've got over 100 distributors that they work with, and give them a go. Test some stuff out. All right, next up, Multicraft. If you haven't heard of multicraft_daddy, give him a follow on Instagram. If you need ink supplies or daddy, multicraft screen printing and digital supplies for over 50 years have been providing you with top brands at competitive pricing. Make sure to mention Printavo Pod to receive an extra 10% off your first order. Supercolor. All right, so if you think about this, if you print high color designs or gradients or just hard to print locations, Supercolor is there to be able to help. They have really incredible high quality transfers, but also they have just put out this really cool guide. And if you go to supercolor.com/printhustlers, it's a new guide to be able to help you with heat transfers and a lot of the best practices. So things like how to price. What about buying the best heat press for what you do? What about different types of transfers? All of that stuff is in that guide. That's supercolor.com/printhustlers. It's also in the link in the description below. And GraphX Source. Shouts out GraphX Source that if you need a solution to help improve efficiency and reduce costs in your art department, they are the go-to. And guess what? Five Boys Apparel has 15 artists from Graphic Source to be able to help them handle art approvals, SEPs. They're doing some high volume printing. So they do SEPs, mock-ups, creative work, order management, digitizing, back office admin, customer service, all that good production art and order entry. Graphic Source can help you. Mention Printavo Pod, that'll get you half off, 50% off your first SEP, or digitize or vectorize order. They've been around for 30 years. They are there to help. All right, back to the show.
It was the 2-minute like demo video, the one that you made look like in your kitchen or something, and then which was like way older, but you know it was like, okay, cool. So that's like, I'm big on the fitness side, so I was like, okay, that's why it's cool and nice to have, and then not having the ball in there and everything, and then the agitator. And then I purposely started looking, you know, and got more specific, watched the Shark Tank, and then went through the website. And then Farag's like, look at the customization aspect. So that's when I was diving deep onto the site. And I do like deep research on the business side. So I'm like, okay, what are the businesses here? What are the like associations that are related to this? And, you know, am I getting retargeted? What do the ads look like? And, you know, that flow. That's
coming for weeks now. They're coming for you. All the retargeting. Yeah, I was told last time when someone started doing research that the first video they saw was a video of us slip and sliding through our house in college. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. So got a pretty good rep for partying back in the day, but I definitely have slowed down since then.
Chris, I got to ask, so like retiring from the NFL, did you take time in between playing professional sports and starting Iceshaker to like what was that inception like of like complete career change, life change, and then like, I'm going to start a drinkware company?
Yeah, you guys are going to like this because it actually, you probably didn't even know about this, but it's even more customization that actually occurred between the NFL and Iceshaker. So my third year in the NFL, I went to 3 different teams. So I was with the Cowboys, and then I went to the Colts, and I got traded to the Broncos. So my third season, my now wife was with me, and she's like, this is ridiculous. I had to get a new job everywhere I go. I'm going to find a way to work from home. So she started a personalization business on Etsy. It took off when my third year ended. I was in between contracts. I started working with her. It started really doing well. And then I signed with the Chargers. I ended up getting hurt in camp and went back. And for the first 5 years after the NFL, I worked with her. We had a website. We had multiple Etsy shops. And I was actually making more money doing that than I was playing in the NFL. So
this is Bruce. If you saw Bruce, what does your week look like with your wife?
Wait, what products was it? First off,
this is hilarious. This is gonna get funny.
It was. She still has a shop. It's probably one of the bigger shops that's still on there, but it's all more like wedding gifts. So genius. A lot of it was wedding industry.
Yeah,
which
is a great premium.
Well. For sure. We realized really quickly that with weddings, they're never going away. And it's not a purchase of one. It's a purchase of, 8, 10, 15, because it's bridesmaids. It's the entire wedding party. So it kind of took off at that point. And was something I never thought I would do. But yeah, I left the NFL, and the next thing I know, I was making wedding gifts.
Dude, yeah. So, and I'm sure you've gone through the trials and tribulations of fulfillment. My wife's also doing something similar, but she's more like making, she's Filipino and she's been making Filipino like a retail brand. So super niche, but it's been, popping off pretty well, especially at events. And so
Bruce, you guys did don't be bashful. You did your first event over the weekend.
Yeah, she did her first event. She did really great. She sold out everything. A lot of lessons learned, but then now having to fulfill all these orders, right? And I'm texting Steven like, okay, I've got all these stack of labels. I've got these stack of packing slips. I've got this I need to print. I've got this heat press. I've got like all this. Like, how am I matching all this up?
If I can read a text message, fulfillment is fucked. How does anyone do e-com at first? What was the other one, Bruce?
I said the biggest thing was, this is the true test of a marriage, of being in a room, fulfilling orders, and like at 11 o'clock at night, just crap everywhere. And then, done with packaging and things left over. And you're like, oh my God, did we put the wrong thing in the wrong package? And it's just,
that sounds
I should share this text thread because it's so funny. And then over the weekend, Bruce is like, temperature, what's the heat press supposed to be at? Bruce, you're on a software company for this.
It was, it was fun.
Doing that out of your house too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's just like, hustling, bustling, but yeah, in the house, it's great, but it's still, is that where you guys are still and just, into the garage, or is it in a space now?
So first 3 years were our house, and it took up our spare bedroom. We actually had laser engravers in our spare bedroom, which then
the fumes
inventory. Yeah, the fumes were blowing out the window into like my neighbor.
Did you have like a fan blowing it, or was it?
Well, for sure did. We had multiple fans running in the house, and
is this a meth lab? People walking by, or what's going on?
We had the cops come by our house the first couple months that we lived there, probably 10 times, because they were like, I don't understand what's going on here. So finally they came to our door and knocked, and were like, hi, we keep getting calls. Can we come in? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Come on in and check out what we got going on here. But we were that neighborhood, or we were that house in the neighborhood where like we just had boxes stacked on the front porch. Like you couldn't even see our front door. And the USPS lady just hated us. She had to come pick them up every day. But people would drive by and take pictures of our porch because we had so many packages on it. But yeah, it eventually got to the point where I had to hire employees. I mean, my whole life was custom engraving items all day long. I mean, I was working every single day from 6 a.m. to 10, 11 p.m. just trying to get orders out. So it got insane. It was absolutely out of control. So we finally got a place and started hiring employees at that point.
So, and explain how Iceshaker got started first too, and then because obviously there's a lot more in there now, a lot of different types of drinkware. But the first one was an actual shaker, which you may not know about if you're not at a gym or heavy into fitness.
Yeah, for sure. No, we started this 2016. I was here in Dallas. It's actually a time when insulated drinkware was starting to just blow up for the first time. So Yeti became massive. In our shop, people just kept walking in and trying to get us to engrave Yeti. So we used to drive around to the stores and like buy every single Yeti possible. And then the value of them was just through the roof. We'd buy them full retail, but then people would pay like $120 for it to be laser engraved. So it was just mayhem. But at the time I started using one, and then I went to the gym. I grabbed a plastic shaker. I get to the gym. It was warm. It was sweating everywhere. I take a sip. It tasted awful. And it just hit me one day. I'm like, why hasn't this technology been put into a shaker bottle form? So went home that day, figured someone already did it, because every time you think you thought of something new or cool, it's already on Amazon. So jumped on Amazon, jumped on Google, searched for it, and there was just nothing out there at that time. There was metal shakers, but they weren't insulated. So metal's the conductor. If you put cold or hot in it, it literally is going to burn or freeze your hand. Mm-hmm. They just had plastic shakers, and that was it. So the idea was just take that same technology, put a shaker top on it, and that's what I did. Super simple idea. Ended up being a lot harder than I thought it would ever be, probably 20 prototypes later. The hard part is just getting it not to leak. I mean, with plastic, it seals. With metal to plastic, you have to use a seal. It's much harder to make it, and it took a lot of different tests to finally get it right.
So like Chris, when we started talking, Chris shipped me one of these, and this is still the original one. And then my wife got a hold of it and goes, order me one. So she has a white marble one. And then she ordered it for her friends. And then a couple people at Campus Ink got them. And now every single employee wants one. So they're pretty sick, I will say. You've like developed a pretty rad product. What was that R&D time like? Like, did you go to China a bunch? Were you like working on Alibaba and like WhatsApp?
Yeah.
And, like,
How do you find a manufacturer?
How do you source? And like, it's metal. Is it like painted and drinkware, like safe, EPA? I don't know. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah, man. I mean, at first I had no clue. So my wife was bringing in products. So we did start sourcing our own products and branding our own products for her shop. So we had that connection already. He was actually a tradesman. He was able to really source anything for us at that time. So he's almost like a sourcing agent.
Interesting.
So we were able to use him, made it very basic at first. It was pretty much just an insulated cup with a shaker top on it. And that was pretty much it. So use that connection. Really at that time, didn't even know about, sending it off to get tested and, making sure all the materials were good. You kind of just assume that they were, which is definitely not a good idea. So
it's like when you order on Amazon, you get that piece of paper in the cup that's like safe. Please review us and get $10 back. And you're like, all right.
and that's actually, people do that where they just order stuff and they have no idea. I mean, all of our stuff now is third-party tested. We make sure all our materials are what we say they are. We make sure it's a kitchen grade stainless steel, BPA free, all that kind of stuff, all toxin free and all that. So, really didn't know. I think we got lucky that our guy we were working with was actually legit and, was able to take care of us and do a pretty good job. So, went through him probably 20 prototypes later, kind of just to get it right. But they will do all, if they think you're a legit buyer, they are going to do the drawings for you. They're going to significantly help you out because they want your business. So the hard part is when you first start and you have no, history of buying product, it's very hard to first find a manufacturer, but then, also just get them to make quantities that are smaller. They're going to want massive orders at first. And they're not going to really put the time and effort into it until they know you're going to be a big customer for them.
Bruce, you're dealing with this right now with Corsette, like in the scrubs, right? Like, what's that been like?
So my wife's also working on like a scrub brand, which is like a technical, fabric with zippers and different pockets and all this stuff. But the same thing, if you go to Asia, and minimums are 300 and plus fabric, and so you're talking a pretty significant investment before you have your marketing engine. Like there's no momentum really yet, and so she's been doing it out here in LA. But same thing, right? It's like such high cost to get started, and then hopefully you get economies of scale to bring it down. But that R&D process is time consuming, slow, back and forth, expensive. So, props to you guys for pushing through that. Because I got to imagine so many people just give up there.
Oh, absolutely. That was the worst part ever. It was actually 20 prototypes later. The pop top itself, we never had issues with. So this actual pop top here, it always sealed. We never had issues with it. The first order we put in, bulk order, got the products. I immediately took them out of the box. I tested them, made sure they were good. Got through 3 of them. The 4th one, took it, held it upside down as it was closed, and it just leaked all over the floor. So we found out that half of them, the pop tops were made in 2s. For whatever reason, every other one was messed up. So they weren't sealing correctly. You couldn't tell the difference by looking at them. So we had to literally change the lids on all 10,000 bottles that we received. It was quite the process.
Just in the garage,
It was up in this room I'm in right now. We had all the bottles, and I would after I work with my wife, I'd come home, and at 5 o'clock I'd just sit here and
just change tops,
replace all the lids, and it took months. I mean,
So you placed your first order for like 10,000 units. That's not like just like cheap or whatever, and you're taking a massive risk, and that's before you have any sales, right? Or did you try to take pre-orders or anything, or?
Oh, this was no sales at all.
That's the gamble. We had on the founder of a company called AS Color, makes wholesale blank apparel, and same thing, 20,000 shirts. You know, he has to bite the bullet, and then they're all boxes in his garage. And here's how. Now we need to figure out how to sell these.
Exactly what it was. And I guess I thought it was the coolest thing in the world and didn't realize how much work it would actually take to sell the product. I figured everyone else was going to see how cool it was and jump on board, but it's tough. I mean, building anything from the ground up, it doesn't matter if you already have a follow. I mean, I had a following, and it was kind of like, hey, the 1% rule. If I could get 1% of people to buy this, I'm going to crush, and we'll sell out of these right away. And just not the case at all. I did have somewhat of a following, but it was because I was an athlete, not because I built this great audience that was engaged, that I was engaging with. And I posted and put it everywhere I possibly could. And I think we sold like 3 bottles the first week.
You know, so this is really interesting. We're starting to work with athletes. We've got some athletes that have like 500,000 followers on Instagram. And we build out this stuff, custom merch. We're going to do all this thing. And like, you'll have one athlete pop off and the other one will sell 4 pieces.
Yep.
And it's like, just because you have a name tied to your back doesn't mean you're going to sell something. Did you struggle with that early on? Cause you're like, wait, we're the Gronks. Like, this should pop off. What's going on? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, man. No, it didn't matter. People, they're not just going to buy something that they've never heard of before just because you recommend it. Right. So I found that out really quickly. To get sales really going, I had to get reviews. I had to build trust. And I did that by first using Amazon, borrowing their audience was the play at that point. I found ways at the beginning not to spend any money on advertising at all, but to just do it organically. So went on there.
This is all retail then, Chris? Like all direct to consumer, all retail, no wholesale at this time?
Correct. Yeah, I didn't wholesale for a couple of years actually, just because we didn't have stock. And when we got on Shark Tank, it just exploded. So we didn't even have product to wholesale at first. But yeah, this was just D2C. Did everything I could to get our listing ranked in the top 3 for shaker bottle, which was the most relevant and biggest term that I could rank for. And then just did a bunch of shows, like went to every show I possibly could on the weekends just to get the product out there and get it into people's hands. So,
talk about that ranking thing. Like, is that like an SEO type of strategy where it's like the keywords have to rank correctly and really good photos and all this stuff, and that'll help get you up in ratings and all that?
Big time. Yeah. So it was a strategy we took from Etsy, actually. The whole Etsy strategy and why we were doing so well on Etsy was that we realized really quickly that, if we ranked number 1 for the top terms, we were going to make bank. So that's what we did. And then on Etsy, what we actually did was we made separate shops because we realized that you could only have, at that time at least, you could only have 1 listing per shop that ranked on the front page for each term. So for instance, like bridesmaid gifts was the biggest term we could possibly rank for anything in the wedding industry. So we created 3 shops so that we could take over the top 3 spots with 3 different shops and just triple the revenue. So
genius.
Pretty cool strategy we used there. Then they went public and they said you couldn't have more than 1 shop and shut down 2 of them and became enough for us. So
obviously multiple people figured this out. We're just like cloning their stores and.
It was a pretty cool strategy because at that time, my wife had her store and then I made mine and we almost competed against each other. But it was such a different vibe because mine was such a, it was male focused and it was a guy doing it, and hers was, so much more, female focused. So it was pretty cool. And I don't think anyone even knew that we were the same shops. So it was a pretty cool strategy. And then we had a third one that we blended together just to take up that 3rd spot. But that same strategy then applied to Google, or applies to Google with SEO, but to Amazon was very similar though. It was the pictures, it was the keywords, it was the title. And what I would do was I would just look at the top listings for my keywords and I'd see what they all had in common. So, they all had, 8 photos. They were good photos. Some of them were lifestyle. A lot of them were product shots. And then it was just keyword stuffing. They had all these keywords in the title, but they also had them in the description. They had them in the bullet points, and really just broke down these listings to figure out why they were at the top and why mine wasn't.
Chris, do you have like an agency or anything help you with like SEO, or were you just like, I'm just going to figure this out on myself, like on your own?
Everything was my own at the beginning. It was just the ultimate grind is what it was. So I just would, it was YouTube. It was kind of just, learning on my own, just looking at what other people were doing and then realizing why I was successful and why mine wasn't. So yeah, it was before I had kids. I can tell you that, and had a lot more time on my hand.
Farag, do you think about SEO with your long running like Shopify stores?
We're starting to a ton now, but we don't. I like tried to hire an agency for a little bit and like just didn't. They weren't fast enough.
Yeah, SEO is always, and I did the same thing. So I hired an agency early on. I got kind of frustrated with it because you don't see the results. But I could tell you now, some of those articles from that agency, they get 300, 400 hits a day. At this point, so it drives
slow burn
traffic to our website
because they just know exactly what to write.
Yeah, one of them's like top 5 like do's or don'ts for protein shakes. One of them's like, here's 5 breakfast protein shakes. Like those 2 articles themselves each drive hundreds of clicks a day, and it's been like 4 years.
Bruce, you guys are crazy. Like at Printavo early on, you're using like hrefs.com to figure out what all the search keywords for. And you were just blogging every single day on Printavo. And it was like those random blogs.
Yeah.
Bruce,
there's a couple tools for people. spyfu.com and then ahrefs.com to help see what keywords you should target for, and then you can measure articles. So like the like protein shake article, you could say, here's the article, and then here's the keywords I want to target, and where am I ranking over time? And then to your guys' points, it just takes time. Like you can optimize all you want, but it takes time for it for Google to recognize it and realize that it's valuable.
What about, how do you attribute, this is like something I struggle with because we run a lot of D2C and we run a lot of wholesale, right? It's really hard to attribute marketing to wholesale because it's like relationships and referrals and all that. But I don't know, Chris, if you've ever cracked this, but like marketing to maybe me as a reseller or buying in bulk versus marketing to a guy at the gym, do you have different strategies for that? Or do you just focus on D2C when it comes to like SEO?
So SEO wise, I don't think we've really written anything SEO wise for wholesale. We do target wholesale through ads though. Pretty simple ads. My most effective one, I literally take the bottles that we engrave with some of the cool engravings we've done, and I just literally am just taking a video with me holding it and kind of spinning it, and then I'll just cycle it through like 8 to 10 different logos really quick. And we target then business owners on Facebook and Instagram, and it's done very, very well for them.
If listeners or anyone watching, so Iceshaker has an awesome Instagram, and then Chris, you personally have a pretty big following on Instagram, like over 100,000 followers. Are you making all these videos yourself? Because you're on it all the time. I mean, is this all you?
All the videos, a lot of them are me. If I'm in the video, I'm shooting that myself in this room that I'm sitting in right now.
And editing yourself?
For the most part, yeah. The text overlays I don't normally do, but everything else, like actually editing the video and what I'm saying, is all me for the most part. But we have a good team. We have a lot of content. We have a lot. I mean, it's all about content now. So we try to pump out as much content as we possibly can. But I really started just doing videos myself because of TikTok. TikTok exploded. I exploded with it in 2020. All from a challenge, man. I had a podcast myself, and a kid came on and was like, why do I have a bigger following than you on TikTok? And kind of challenged me to just post once a day for 30 days. I did. Within 30 days, I had 50,000 video views, 50 million video views, and it just exploded. Like I gained 300,000 followers in 1 month. So we realized how powerful content was at that point. I was actually driving more traffic to my website from TikTok than I did from a Shark Tank update or a Shark Tank airing.
Wow.
It's pretty.
Wow.
Wait, for people that want to get into content, we always talk about content is so important to drive business. You said 30 for 30 days. I think it may be hard to start as to what to film and what to do. How did you think about that? And what did you make?
Man, it's kind of exactly what you're doing for the podcast. Whatever you're super passionate about, that's what you talk about. If you absolutely love custom printing, there's things you could talk about, different machines, different techniques, different sales techniques, all that kind of stuff. So for me, it was, what I was passionate about and what I knew a lot about was sports and football. So and entrepreneurship a little bit I mixed in, but it was all kind of the behind the scenes of the NFL stuff that I started talking about. And then I just started answering questions that people asked me. And that's really what fueled it at that point. But I tell people all the time, I mean, I've seen people on there that, they talk about taxes and they have a massive following. There's people on there that, I mean, it's weird stuff, but it's very informational. And they've grown massive followings because of it. I've seen people that talk about staffing, hiring and how to land your dream job, stuff like that. And they have 1 million followers. So, whatever you're super passionate about, you're going to realize really quickly that there's also a lot of other people that are too. And whatever you're super passionate about, you can talk about forever. You can talk all day, every day about what you love doing. So,
I mean, that's super true about our industry. Like, we're all in all the Facebook groups together, talking about it all together. So it's I mean, it resonates in every industry. It's crazy that you say TikTok. Cause we just interviewed, Music City Creative out of Nashville, and they have been doing so much D2C from there. How do you track what comes from TikTok versus what comes from Facebook versus what, do you use some system or something, or what does that dashboard look like? Cause we don't have that.
The Shopify does a good job of picking up. It seems like it does a better job of picking up TikTok than it does Facebook and Instagram, actually. So we do see it come in on the Shopify dashboard. You could use UTMs in your actual ads if you're putting ads up. You could put UTMs on your links as well in your profiles if you want to really dig down deep and track that as well. But you see the traffic come in. You see the sales come in right on the Shopify dashboard for the most part. So it's been easier to track than some of the other.
Are you part of that TikTok beta for Shopify integration? Or do you get early access to that?
I'm not 100% sure. We haven't seen a lot of success on conversions outside of just organic with TikTok. So and then the shop stuff. I mean, a lot of times it's just so early and it's super the functionality of it just is terrible at first.
But it's crazy that you say it got more exposure than the Shark Tank update or Shark Tank episode, and I think it's wild to see the change, right? If we could talk about Shark Tank for 1 minute, I mean, obviously you guys all went on there. Did you apply, or did the show be hey, we want you to get on here? Or how did that go down? If you're allowed to talk about it.
No, for sure. So I got an email in 2012 when I was still playing from my agent. They were looking for any current or former NFL players. For them, it's just a way to grow the show. They know if they get some players on there, it's going to pull in some of the NFL audience as well. So I got that email 2012, loved the show, had absolutely nothing to present at the time. So I saved it, ended up emailing that email back about 4.5 years later. And girl didn't work there anymore, but she passed me on to the girl that did. And at that point, they're like, hey, would love to see what you got going on. If you could submit a video, we'll review it and get back to you. So I did get to skip you usually have to go to a convention and trade shows and stuff and present in front of some people, and you have to go through multiple steps to get to the video submission normally. So I was able to pass all those. I made a ridiculous video at the point where I was ripping off my shirt. I made sure that my brothers joined in on it, crushing workouts, showing highlights from my NFL career, scoring my one touchdown I had, all that. And I threw it on there. And I was like, man, this is either going to be the worst or the best video they've ever seen. And so submitted it. You submit it as an unlisted video on YouTube. I can't find my video though. At that time, I had no clue how to use email or YouTube or anything. So I submitted, I think, on my younger brother's platform at the time. And I can't find the video anymore, so I don't have it. I've been asked for
it's gonna leak. It's gonna leak 10 years from now or something like that. It'll be real weird.
It's on there. It's unlisted on YouTube somewhere. And you submit it and then you wait. So waited 3 or 4 days, and then I checked every day to just see if anyone actually watched it. And then after a couple of days, I saw there was like 5 watches on it. I'm like, oh shit, something happened here. So ended up getting a call that day or the next day, and they were like, yeah, we loved your video, loved the product, would love to go to the next steps with you. And that's really a massive process of just filling out nonstop paperwork before you actually get onto the show to actually film, in which then you don't know if you're actually going to air or not until about 2 weeks before the show actually airs. So they won't tell you. until you actually are about 2 weeks out. So you have 2 weeks to prepare for your airing, is what it comes down to at the end of the day.
So this is like, I've learned a little bit of behind the scenes of like just kind of getting to work with Mark and his team and stuff. And it's crazy that they film in what, like 2 or 3 weeks, and then they get like 20 episodes out of it. Yep. So like, actually there was an NIL company that got booed off, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And they filmed in September, or like they filmed in the fall, and it aired in May. But I had reached out to Mark in between them without knowing that there was an NIL company that got booed off by like Kevin O'Leary just like said they were bozos or something like that. And so that was literally coincidence that like, but what's funny is like when I emailed Mark, I have read receipts on my email. So I was like watching like, and I texted it. I was like, he read it. Oh, it's open. What the hell? And then like response comes back and you're like, well, crap, what do we do now? So that's super cool. And then would you call that like a pivotal moment? Like when you guys went on the show and it aired, like things exploded from there? Like,
yeah, absolutely, man. Huge. I mean, I wish I knew what I was doing at that point, but I had no idea. But yeah, it was at that time we had one product, one color, one size. That was it. Sales before that, we were at 80K for the first 6 months. And that week, I think it was that month, we did about 250K in sales. And then,
whoa. Okay. All right. How did you fulfill all of that? And I'm assuming you didn't have the stock, or maybe you did, but I just get a little anxious thinking about the fulfillment of all that.
So we had the stock, and then the good thing was that because it was one bottle and that's all we had, we could actually prepackage them all as well. So we had the shipping set up already. We had them prepackaged in singles, doubles, triples, all the way up to the quantities of 6. And it was all ready to go. So all we had to do was slap a label on it, because people couldn't add like all the add-ons we have now. So if we aired now, packing would have took weeks. If we got that much, it would have been a lot more volume.
Is this still in your house?
No, absolutely not. We've moved 3 different warehouses now at this point.
I mean, 250,000 bottles or whatever. Like, is that a semi?
No, it's 250,000 in sales. So,
gotcha. Yeah.
It wasn't that much, that many bottles. So that was probably like 10,000 bottles around there at that point. So, no, it was definitely it was a lot of volume for sure, but nothing like insane.
I was talking to Bruce about this. If you go to iceshaker.com, you guys don't just sell ice shakers anymore. You sell like premium drinkware, lots of different colorways, like stuff that's female focused, like skinny bottles, different things like that. And you laser engrave them and customize them. And it's freakishly fast how quickly you guys do that.
So we took, it was kind of a crazy run. One bottle, one color, one size when we aired. Immediately knew like, hey, we got to grow. We got to get more stuff. So started coming in with colors. I couldn't hit the MOQs for colors at that time, so we just made different color bands on them. So it's just black bottles, and then we changed out the silicone bands on the top to kind of give us some different colorways. So that's how we originally did it, to get over that. Then started creating new bottles, so different sizes. We came out with a 16-ounce shaker. We then came out with a skinny tumbler, and really it was all just feedback from our customers at that time. But man, like I took all the money from the Sharks, from the show, from all the sales that came in from it, and I just kept putting it back into the company. So everyone was like, man, it must be awesome. You guys must be killing it. And we did. I mean, we were profitable from day one. I was profitable before Shark Tank. I mean, it was doing really well, and I was. It wasn't something where I was just dumping a ton of money into it. I was growing it slowly at first, but it was 2.5 years before I ever took a penny back from the company at all. So no salary, wasn't taking any dividends. I was taking every dollar we had, and I was just putting it right back into the company. So we grew to probably 80 SKUs after the first year, and then over 100 in our second year. And now we probably have around over 150 SKUs at this point.
This audience that listens are shops, people that work in shops, people that buy wholesale stuff. Of which, check out Iceshaker. There's a wholesale opportunity to buy these really great corporate and fitness gift and all kinds of stuff there too. But How does that work, and how did you dive into that? Because it seems like shops have this balance of doing retail and wholesale, but at the same time, they are a bit different in business and in the process and the account management aspect and all that.
Yeah, so wholesale, I guess, I mean, we didn't wholesale at first because we didn't have product, but I guess at first also I didn't want to just discount product for wholesale either. I was like, man, this is just taking away from my margin. So I didn't see the value of it. But there's a ton of value in working with good partners in wholesale and the product as well, because that money that you lose that you're giving to them for margin, they're taking that and they're also marketing your product. And if they do a good job, they really help build your audience as well. So we really started digging deep into wholesale about year 3 and realized then at that point, like, you don't have to spend all this money on Facebook ads. You can wholesale and it's guaranteed profit. They're going to then start talking about your brand and really getting eyeballs on it as well. So that's when we really started digging into it. We brought on a sales team. I didn't have a sales team at all for the first 3.5 years. So at that point, we finally brought on a sales team, and we now have 5 sales reps at this point.
Wow. All right. First sales rep. A lot of folks ask how you get the first sales rep set up, right? Because there's no process for that. What was your experience there, and how did you set them up for success on the wholesale side?
Yeah, man, I got lucky because he was already working for me, helping me with fulfillment, and he just loved the product. He's one of my first employees, but he would just naturally reach out to companies and just say like, hey, have this awesome product. I think it would fit really well with your brand. A lot of it was supplement companies at that time. And man, he just started selling like crazy for us. So
just emailing or DMing or
just emailing, definitely DMing on Instagram as well. So really the big play, once we switched them over, we realized like, man, like there's definitely something here. Facebook ads were starting to get a little bit harder and more expensive. So switched him over to just do sales full time at that point. And it was all DMing through Instagram, especially in the fitness industry. Like everyone in the fitness industry is on Instagram. So DMing through there, and then emailing, and then LinkedIn's a great tool as well. Since then we have added emails. You can buy email list, or just doing a great job of collecting email at shows has been a huge asset for us as well. So that's pretty much it. Or just going to shows and just making connections. If you do a good job, people talk, especially if you get stuff out quick. People really like to tell other people about that, or it really does really well for us because everyone waits till the last minute to order. So at some point something will come up, they're like, oh, I need something last minute, and they're like, oh, hit up Iceshaker. They'll get it done in the same week.
It was crazy. We did 200 water bottles, and then 25 of them were personalized with names, like laser engraved and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And then they were at our doorstep within 4 or 5 days. It was crazy.
Can you share some of that efficiency, like learnings to be able to fulfill quickly?
Yeah, for us, I mean, we realized with my wife's business that if we got out the door quickly, it all just organically came back to us. So people got excited. A lot of times people would actually email and be like, hey, you guys shipped my order out, but you forgot to customize it. And we're like, actually, no, we did customize it. They're like, no, I ordered yesterday. Like, you guys forgot to customize it. We're like, no, we customized it. It's on the way. So they'd be so impressed with the turnaround times, because a lot of times it will take 2, 3, 4 weeks to get a custom item. So just naturally they'd come back and order from us whenever they were in a pinch, but they'd also just talk about it because they were so impressed with the service. So for us, I mean, we've always just brought in the best technology to get it out the door quick. So at first it was, we'd use the flat deck lasers, but we realized pretty quickly that if we want to get this stuff out the door, we need the biggest, fastest lasers. So we use, they call them gravel lasers, and they have mirrors on them. The laser shoots from like every angle at this point, and we can actually spin 10 bottles at a time. So it took our engravings down from, an average engraving was probably 3 minutes, maybe 3.5 minutes, down to, at this point, 30 seconds per engraving. And sometimes if it's just a normal, like smaller logo, it will take, 5 to 10 seconds a bottle. and then it spins. So you could actually live feed it. So you're never stopping to take bottles out, put them back in. You're actually just live feeding it as it's spinning. So it's very, very efficient. So we actually run teams of 2 people on a laser, and one person's unpacking, and the other person's just putting it in the laser, taking it out, and then the other person's just packing it back up.
Did you have to develop like a lot of software for that automation to be like how much of that, like, did you have to invest in engineering or like workflow management or like, because I think just that right there is kind of it's anyone who's a screen printer like totally understands what you're saying there. Like, how much did you have to invest in building that flow out?
Man, I have had all kinds of companies reaching out, like NetSuite and all that, and showing me these really, really awesome dashboards where you can really kind of connect all these flows and put all the logos into it and connect it to the orders and all that. But the end of the day, I went on Trello and used a free service on Trello, and we index all of our cards on there with the orders, and it's been a very seamless process for free. So,
so you still use Trello today?
Still use Trello. Yeah, it's super easy.
I think people are always surprised too. Out of college, I worked in consulting, and our gig was at Abbott Labs, a big pharmaceutical company and everything. And, people want to automate and do all that stuff. And like a multi-billion-dollar company, they're basically running off Excel sheets. Like they're passing around different slices of data of Excel, and it's just, sure they'll have a foundation system, an Oracle type, but out of that, straight Excel and different project management tools, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I definitely highly recommend Trello. It's just super easy to use. It's free, and we preload everything on there. All that our engravers have to do is just download one file and upload it, and that's it.
Yeah,
and they're good to go. But yeah, it's kept us super organized, and it's worked well for us. And when it's a free service that works that well, you really can't beat it.
What are the challenges now scaling? I think one. Well, no. I'm sorry. I want to get to that question, but actually, this reminds me. Steven and I always talk about financing growth. Do you cash? Do you finance? Obviously, you raise a little bit of money too. Like, you got these machines, you've moved 3 times to bigger warehouses, you're buying inventory. How do you look at that part of the business when you're growing?
So financing it, I've been lucky.
Is it cash going back in, or is it?
It's been all cash going back in. So, I was fortunate enough that my wife did have a business as well that was doing really well. I pretty much saved all my money from the NFL as well. So, if I was a normal person and I didn't have that saved up, it would have been really, really hard because I didn't take a paycheck for, 2.5 years, like I said earlier. But I was able to do that and just put it all back into the company. So
even the equipment too, buying outright.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, everything.
It's like you, Steven.
Chris, where'd you learn that? Like, business background? Like, how'd you get? Because this is, people listening to this are probably jealous. Like, where did you learn that?
So my dad's been in business for 32 years, selling fitness equipment. So I got to grow up, working in his warehouses, delivering fitness equipment for him. So I had like the ultimate, resource if I needed it. Unfortunately, I didn't really listen to him that much when I first started the business, and I probably should have. But yeah, there are some things that you probably should finance and some things that you shouldn't. But man, I was lucky enough just to have the cash flow. So I always just paid for everything up front, but ended up, my dad's biggest tip was also buy the warehouse. So we bought the warehouse right away as well. And so we can rent it back to ourselves. It's always, a nice little source of income. If I did, sell the company or we moved to another location, I'd still have that as well. So, yeah, man, it's definitely fortunate to be able to do that. And most people can't. So
when you bought that location too, is that the latest one, the largest? Because you said you moved a few times. For
sure, yeah. That's the latest one that we bought.
Got it.
Bought it thinking we'd be in there for a while, and I think we still will. I think we'll start using some 3PL and fulfillment partners for some of our larger stuff, and then for the customization and B2C stuff, we can always keep that in the warehouse that we have now.
Yeah. What is some of the scaling challenges now, and where you see things going over the next year?
Man, scaling wise, it's just it's forecasting and trying to figure out what you actually need in stock. It has been tough. We continuously run out of product. It's extremely frustrating. It's got to the point where I'm shipping full containers to other fulfillment centers just in case, just so we have backup. For instance, like right now, our top sellers have been out for almost a month because my inventory has been sitting in LAX for over a month now. It's here. Ugh. I ordered in time. I was told today that 2 containers just got on the rail to Dallas. I hope it's actually true because they've been telling me that for 3 weeks now. So
it's literally just a prayer.
It is. And dude, every time they text me, they put the prayer hands on there. Like, it's supposed to get on the rail today with prayer hands. And I'm like, this is insane. That's what it comes down to is, just kind of almost getting lucky that they pick your
we could do a whole nother episode on doing that during COVID.
So right now, the biggest challenge and like what I'm talking about with my team is like, hey, should I just order 6 months extra inventory? Which, I mean, it sucks because it eats my cash flow, eats up my warehouse space. It's rough, but what's worse is when I don't have it. So it's kind of the conversations that we're having right now is how much and where should we put it? Because it's a nightmare when you run out, especially for a month.
Chris, what's like, me and Bruce talk a lot about exit strategy, right? Like what's, what is in it for you? Is this something you feel like you want to own for a really long time? Is this something you want to like, you obviously have investors and things like that too, right? What is the game plan? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, man, for sure. I have 4 kids now. My oldest is 5. So I do want to get
4 kids under 5.
Yeah, it's mayhem over here, man. Absolute mayhem.
Hey, you got Packers. You got picking Packers, though.
Yeah. At some point. I got some workers, that's for sure. But, I mean, I hope it comes to that point. I hope I still have it at that point where, growing to a point where, I could have the whole family in on it. And, for me, I always see it as, I'm young. Like, I'm not, and I didn't start it for the money to start with in the first place. I started because it was something I'd like to do. It was an industry I wanted to be in. So I'll continue doing it until I feel like it's not fun anymore. But really, our goal is to grow at least 30% every year. At that point, we're 3-4 years away from having $100 million valuation on the company. If we continue going 30%. I mean, it's hard. It gets harder every year to grow 30%, but you can, and we have been doing it. So that's kind of the goal there. And then, if I'm enjoying it, keep going. I think you could always build out an amazing team too. And I got to take some of it off my plate at some point though. I'm still way too deep in it. I'm sure as you saw, like I'm still putting orders in myself.
I mean, you're like answering my emails like all hours of the day. And here's something that's funny. In 2018, March 1st, I don't know when you guys aired.
We aired 2017 in October. Okay,
so March 1st, 2018, I DM'd you guys.
Oh, well, really?
Saying, hey, I own a screen printing apparel company. We work on college campuses. We're based out of the University of Illinois. I think you guys could be huge on our campus. I'd love to talk. And you messaged me back and goes, hey, we'd love to hear more. Please send your info to Chris, Iceshaker. And I don't know what happened after that. I've got to go dig through my emails. I literally just thought about that right now. And I'm like,
you probably emailed me though. And at that point, I was so underwater that there's probably no chance I could even handle your order at that point. So much has changed.
It's super cool to see you still in it. It's like, okay, we talk about $100 million valuation. You're still putting in orders. You're still on the ground floor. You're still producing content every single day. And I just think it's super cool for other shop owners to see that, you're doing it. It's pretty awesome. So
yeah, it's been good. I mean, if you want to get to that next level though, you have to take that off your plate. And sure. The goal for 2023, and every year I have a new goal, but for this year it was, I was still engraving. I was going in at 4 a.m. Last year. 4 a.m. I'd work from 4 to 9 engraving, just trying to get extra orders out the door. Come home from 9 to 5 and work on the actual business, and then put the kids to sleep and jump back on the computer at 8 and work till about 10:30. So I was so shot. It was insane. So my goal this year was just not to go in the warehouse anymore. Really just pass that responsibility off. And I don't go in and engrave unless someone's in town. I want to show them the lasers and kind of show them the warehouse and stuff like that. But
you guys are in Dallas, Chris?
We are, yeah. We're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Sweet.
Yeah, we'll be there next week, actually.
Yeah, we'll be there.
I'll have to go in the warehouse then.
Yeah, we're gonna be there. We're gonna be there Friday.
Don't let Steven get in the warehouse. We're working on psychologically keeping him out too.
They try to keep me out because they say it's like Hurricane Steven coming through. Like, you can clear out. Steven's here. Like, something's. So, like, I purposely don't go in. It's probably better for everyone else, Steven
was texting me, Chris, like 1 a.m. the other night, moving presses and just like, making space for fulfillment and everything. But
you got to do what you got to do.
For sure, man.
Wrapping up, what do you think, like learning from the NFL and just being an athlete and training and all that, are some learnings that people could take with running a business?
Yeah, man, it's very similar. And it's actually more similar than I realized at first. But, the hard work, the discipline, obviously you need all that, especially as a business owner, because you're going to get hit with everything, at all hours, especially when you first started up. So, just having that discipline and hard work, that was cool. But really at the end of the day, it comes down to teamwork and being able to build a team. Man, like I was saying, I was the head coach. I was the assistant coach. I was the player. I was the freaking trainer. I was everything, man, at first. And it doesn't work. Like eventually, it's too much. You can't scale. You're going to burn out. And that's kind of where I was at. I got kind of lucky that the pandemic hit and it kind of forced me to have to stay at home. I also had my third kid at the same time. So 3 kids at home, a pandemic. I literally couldn't do all the work myself anymore. So that's when I kind of sat back and I reached out to mentors like my dad, other business owners in the area. And they were like, man, you got to build a team. Like, what are you doing? Build a team, put together a budget and forecast, which was huge for me as well. We were always kind of like, hey, if it works, spend more money. If the Facebook ads are working, just kick more at it. But there was really no game plan at the end of the day. So sitting down, breaking the business into different pillars and putting a budget and forecast on each one was huge. But yeah, man, like really what it came down to, everything I learned from the NFL, what it really came down to was just teamwork. Build that same structure that's in the locker room, put that in your business. If you're the CEO, you're the head coach. Your job isn't to run the football on game day. Your job is to make sure everyone knows what they're doing and that you build an amazing team. And that's where I have to get to. I'm trying to get there still. I've done a much better job of it, but that if you want to be successful, that's what you got to get to.
It's big.
Sweet.
I appreciate it. I think one big takeaway that keeps is a recurring theme is it is okay to create a high quality product and charge for that and not be a bottom feeder, and strive to be on the top end. And use the quality of the product to back that up. And, you've done it with Iceshaker. We've done it with guests that we've had on here. So, cool to see it. Awesome to see the growth too. I just love seeing business owners like as people hit those next rungs and are struggling because it's hard. And this is amazing. So iceshaker.com, you can check it out. They've got the retail, the wholesale side. Chris Gronkowski, appreciate your time. I'm sure you're busy. You got to throw some more cups on. Oh wait, no, Chris.
Not throwing cups on the laser.
Yeah, Steven, Chris, you're out.
Not until you guys come in town.
Yeah, we'll be there on Friday. I think we fly on Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, you got to stop by the warehouse.
We'll hit you up.
All right. Chris, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Take it easy. See ya.